Talks of the major focus of the government is on the tax. So, what do you think? Either it is direct taxes or indirect taxes, whether government will be able to achieve its target of achieving taxes.
First one is debt servicing and debt repayment. Second one is defense and security expenditure, given the geopolitical and geoeconomic situation, the geostrategic situation in which Pakistan is from our eastern and western border. First D is debt, second D is defense and security, third D is day-to-day running of government, and fourth is development.
Talks of how important it is to stabilize our economy by enhancing exports. So, what do you think in the upcoming budget?
Countries like Pakistan, in order to be competitive in export, we need to rethink of the products that we are exporting, try to find out opportunities. For example, in China, export of soya bean is a major potential, but we don't grow soya bean. China import $100 billion worth of soya bean from United States. I would say that we are not ready as a country to enhance our exports in the near future. These are some of the areas and some of the loopholes which have been hampering the progress of every government. We will not sell electricity below its cost of production generation. We will not sell gas below its cost of import. We will expand tax net by bringing in retail sector in tax and real estate sector on tax.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello and welcome to program Insight in Videos English. The federal budget for 2024-25 is going to be presented next week by the current finance minister, Mr. Aurangzeb. At the moment, there are massive preparations being made by Ministry of Finance and all other institutions which are involved in preparations of this federal budget. So what will be the focus of the federal government on this budget, whether there will be more taxes, whether there will be any economic relief for any economic area of Pakistan, or whether there will be any relief for the common man, and what will be the policy of the federal government in this upcoming budget as far as direct and indirect taxes are concerned. To discuss these all and upcoming federal budget, we have with us now renowned economist and executive director of Sustainable Development Policy Institute, Dr. Abdul Qayyum Sulari Saab. Dr. Abdul Qayyum Sulari Saab, warm welcome to program Insight in Videos.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Saab, again, thank you so much. Despite your busy schedule, we have spared some time. So how you view upcoming budget is quite close, and there are a lot of hopes about this particular upcoming budget that the government is also planning, keeping in view very tight economic situation. Government is planning to give some economic relief. What do you think?
Well, thank you, Mateen Saab. This budget is will not be just another formula budget that one has been witnessing for last many years. This budget is presented at juncture of closure of a successful standby agreement with IMF and the negotiation of the next IMF program. And in a way, this budget is a sort of a prior condition for initiating the negotiation for the next IMF program. And when something is a prior condition in the IMF program, that means that it has to be taken seriously. It has to be presented seriously. For example, the budget for the
conditions of IMF. True.
So, for example, the budget for the current fiscal year, the numbers and figures which were presented in the speech, those were to be revised even before passing that budget, because IMF had certain reservations on those numbers and the practicalities of the measures which were proposed there. So this time, of course, the budget makers, they will be mindful of the last year's experience, and they will have to come up with the very tangible, practical, pragmatic proposal that could be rolled out on ground. And second, these things have to be passed by the parliament before initiation of the new negotiation. And that is how this budget needs to be analyzed and needs to be assessed.
Talks of the major focus of the government is on the tax. So, what do you think? Either it is direct taxes or indirect taxes, whether government will be able to achieve its target of achieving taxes by the end of the current fiscal year?
Well, while the major focus of the government may be increased revenue, the major focus of IMF is to reduce fiscal deficit. That is the difference between our expenditures and our income. So IMF is saying that either we have to scale down our expenditure or we have to improve our income. And the same thing is to do the both. Now, obviously, in order to reduce expenditure, we need to understand the type of expenditure that governments typically incur. The three expenditure, they are non-negotiable expenditure. The first one is debt servicing and debt repayment. Second one is defense and security expenditure, given the geopolitical and geoeconomic situation, the geostrategic situation in which Pakistan is from our eastern and western border and some of the internal threats. One can't compromise on this defense and security. And third one is day-to-day running of the government. And these three, they are non-negotiable. So the fourth one, which is negotiable, that is development expenditure. So I call them 4Ds. First D is debt, second D is defense and security, third D is day-to-day running of government, and fourth is development. Now, if government has no cushion to compromise on the first three Ds, obviously the fourth D, it always get the cut. And that's where cutting those expenditure then leads to bad performance on Human Development Index. Now, in order to attain a balance and to strike a balance, government would have to improve its revenue measure, and government would have to improve its targeted social protection and social safety net mechanism. And this is what the budget would be. Increased taxation or increased revenue efforts, and then looking at venues for targeted intervention to provide relief from development expenditures.
Dr. That's true. You have talked about most important piece, and that is debt servicing and debt defense, and then day-to-day expenditure, and also development budget, which we discussed under the bracket of public sector development program. And recently, government has made massive cut in public sector development program. What do you think? If there is a massive cut in the public sector development program, it will have a deeper effect on all development projects across Pakistan. At a time when Sindh government is demanding money from the federal government, that the fund should be released for the timely completion of ongoing development projects in Sindh. And same is the condition in other provinces. So this cut will definitely adversely affect our ongoing development projects.
Well, allocation or releases on PSGP, they really don't matter. The main thing that matters is whether those allocation and releases are for the projects which are near completion, or we keep on allocating for new projects without completing the prior one. And somehow the unfortunate tradition is that in PSGP, new development schemes, they kept on popping up either due to political pressure or due to other reasons. And the existing schemes, their completion is gets ignored. Even in this budget, if the maximum allocation is for completion of those projects, I would say it's a good thing to do. But if we are asking for new schemes to be initiated without completing the existing one, then it would be a bad quality of PSGP. And I think we should go for now value for money, and we should go for maximization of what has already been started.
Dr. Saab, how important is to stabilize our economy by enhancing exports? So what do you think in the upcoming budget there will be any focus on how to enhance our exports and particularly balance of trade and balance of payments? I put 3 points in one question.
Matin, the first thing is that uh, what is it that we can export? We have four products. We have
May-
rice, we have textile, we have mangoes, and we have leather garments and other. So
Our main
name any fifth product that we can export. Now, of course, the competition is very tough. The type of fiscal consolidation in which we were for last 1 year, or in which we will be after next IMF program, that would make us quite non-competitive. The energy tariff has to go, the gas tariff has to go, the monetary policy, I'm expecting some downward revision, but it would still be in double figures. And then on top of it, there are new trade regimes. EU has just from October 2023 has initiated its carbon border adjustment mechanism, meaning all the exporters, they would have to declare their carbon emission reports in supply chain, and those exporters who will be emitting more carbon than the permitted in EU will have to pay some sort of carbon tax, or will have to buy some carbon credit. This scheme is going to be rolled out completely in 2026. Once it is rolled out in EU, US, and China, they will be bringing their counter measures because of their internal trade wars. So countries like Pakistan, in order to be competitive in export, we need to rethink of the products that we are exporting. B, we need to rethink of the manufacturing style to reduce our carbon footprints. And third, in order to remain competitive, we need to then think of how we can loop in some joint ventures, or how we can now diversify from our traditional exports to some of the services export sector. And I'm referring to IT and artificial intelligence and other. If that is not there, then I don't see much of hope in improving our trade balance. Although agriculture is a low-hanging fruit, and even for agriculture, we need to think of its quality and quantity, and then try to find out opportunities. For example, in China, export of soya bean is a major potential, but we don't grow soya bean. China import $100 billion worth of soya bean from United States. In the this context of trade war with US, of course, China would like to diversify its imports, and but Pakistan doesn't have that opportunity. So I would say that we are not ready to, as a country, to enhance our exports in the near future.
Also, you rightly said that we are not ready to enhance our exports in near future. We are not adopting new techniques, value addition to our products, modernizing our industry, introducing new things like information technology and knowledge-based economy, and these all things. But important thing at this point is that you're also part of an economic advisory council. One of the best brains are over there. Just tell us, our viewers, that where problem lies. Of course, we have been giving good suggestions, recommendations, strategy, which we call an economic strategy. But despite these all things, where is the problem? Why don't our economies stabilize? Where is the problem?
Well, Mateen, looking at Pakistan's economic situation, I think everyone knows what the problems are, and everyone knows what the solutions are. It's no rocket science. Pick up the last 5, 6 IMF programs, and we have been consistently committing that we will reduce the state-owned enterprises' losses. We will not sell electricity below its cost of production. Generation. We will not sell gas below its cost of import. We will expand tax net by bringing in retail sector in tax and real estate sector on tax. We will apply taxes on income, irrespective whether it is earned through agriculture sector or through other sector. And these are these are some of the areas and some of the loopholes which have been hampering the progress of every government. Each political party, when it comes into power, try to address some of these, and all those political parties, when they are in opposition benches, they oppose some of the this course correction measure tooth and nail, and privatization is one glaring example. I think it's not about lack of advisories or lack of policies. It's about consistency, and it's about politicization of issues which can address our economy. And unless we will not stop politicizing the economy, we will not be able to actually arrive at a stage where we can take off. Political parties, they should give alternative suggestions, so they should be part of solution. So right now, or even in the previous governments, in the last three regimes, no government could have survived without IMF. And even today, there is a change of government. The new government will have to go to IMF. So if IMF is indispensable, then the political parties, they should come up with suggestion how to reduce and ease the pain of transition while going through this IMF program, rather than opposing the initiative which have to be taken in an IMF program.
Dr. Saab, we have read the reports that by 10th of July, Pakistan has to repay loans amounting 10 billion US dollars. So at a time when we are discussing the state of economy, Pakistani Prime Minister is visiting Beijing, and he held meeting with the Chinese premier, and then soon he will be also having meeting with President Xi. So what are the expectations from Beijing? Will Pakistan get some sort of relief from Beijing in terms of investment, in terms of rescheduling of loans, something, because all eyes and hopes are on the Beijing. So to what extent we should be hopeful towards China?
My gut feel is that the one of the major objective that we want to achieve is to extend the tenor of IPPs. We are falling behind our payments to IPPs. Those were our sovereign liabilities. Now, one of the preconditions for our next IMF program would be to clear those areas. And if we cannot clear those areas, we will have to negotiate with the Chinese businesses as well as with Chinese government to extend their tenor. And the tenure, once it's extended, only then we will be able to present a clean balance sheet, or comparatively clean balance sheet for the next IMF program. So this discussion with the IPPs is the first one, and the second important thing would be again rollover of some of the deposits that Chinese government they keep on depositing with the state bank. And third is looking at CPEC phase 2, some of the low-hanging fruits which can be getting utilized in this CPEC phase 2. One of them is this long-delayed ML1 project of railway, and the other is cooperation and collaboration on agricultural issues.
Comes up, this Special Investment Facilitation Council has been set up, and there have been series of meetings, and this council has been able to attract some of the foreign direct investment. So how important is this SIFC mission, and do you think it will proceed ahead and stabilize the economy by bringing more and more foreign direct investment, as it has done already some successful ventures?
Well, Nitin, first thing first, why such a body was needed? And I will refer the viewers to Pakistan's national security policy, the document which was revealed in 2022. It is valid till 2026, and its preamble says that economic security is a non-traditional security threat, and as long as we are economically insecure, we will not be able to be fully secure nationally. So national security is not only an economic issue, economic security is not only an economic issue, it's a national security threat. Now, from 2018-2019, the heads of state and heads of government of all friendly countries, they paid visit to Pakistan, they signed MOUs and agreements worth billions of dollars. And then what happened? Nothing could happen. And Uh,
Oh,
this
no,
was
no,
this was this was despite the fact that the then government was quite serious in materializing it, and the friendly countries were quite serious in supporting Pakistan. But many of those MOUs and agreements either they became victim to bureaucratic procedures, or to the procedural hurdles, or to the federal provincial government mandate lack of clarity on it, or to some of the existing bottlenecks. For example, Turkish auto manufacturing companies, they wanted to install auto assembly units here, but they were told that they cannot be provided the same privileges and perks that Japanese car assemblers are availing in Pakistan. So they couldn't go ahead. Now, that actually necessitated some sort of forum where we could discuss all those bottlenecks, immediately take decisions, and then take a follow up. And it was replicating the model of NCOC during COVID, where we had all relevant stakeholder and decision makers and all provinces, and they were taking decisions on a daily basis. So this is what the basic principle is behind creation of SIFC. No, its executive committee and apex committee and its this provincial level committees, they are meeting on a regular basis. They are told about bottlenecks. They take note and they immediately take course correction measure. And I hope if they continue to work as per mandate and don't get distracted in all other areas. For example, during a caretaker setup, we loaded SIFC from getting electricity bill recovery to curbing smuggling. So if SIFC is focusing on facilitating investors along with some of the policy improvement that we will be taking under IMF program, I'm sure that we can take off and economy will be in a much better position.
Doctor, you have already talked about, but very important question to you is that last week before departing to China, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif took a decision and abolished public this PWD, Park PWD, saying no confidence on its working and said one of the most corrupt organization. So although this is good in cutting down the government expenditure and such entities which are not producing result, but what is the solution? Without giving any alternate, there are 10,000 employees of this organization. Will, with a stroke of a pen, such decisions will have some sort of impact on cutting down the government expenditure? How you view this particular decision?
Yeah. Employees, they are always sent to surplus pool. Even after 18th Amendment, no one was sent home. All of them, they were sent to surplus pool and they were absorbed in different other division and departments. So it's not about 10,000 employees. Their future is safe as far as the decision is concerned. Um, let's see the utility of public works department. Now, each one of us knows, and you can talk to any of the contractor of PWD to find out that how exactly it works. Now, if we have PEPRA rules and if these things, those can be done in a transparent manner, engaging private contractors following up PEPRA rules, I would say why not to go for it rather than having a full-fledged department who will be constructing your schools and your government buildings and your government housing. Again, in the very unfortunate event of earthquake uh, back in 2004, we have seen that all the PWD constructed buildings and the provincial works department buildings, those got collapsed, and the private sector building, those were there. So I think it's a step in the right direction. Government need to reduce its footprints in the areas which can be tackled better by private sector. Government's role is to be facilitator and be a regulator, and then let private sector compete, ensure its quality, and I'm sure that they can get good results.
Doctor, very quickly, every sector of the economy is looking at the federal budget. What do you think? Which area of economy should be given some relief, which is vital for our economy?
there is hardly any cushion to provide relief. The only relief that should be provided and that can be provided is through strengthening social safety nets. We need to have
Not,
many more
not
programs like Benazir Income Support Program, targeted subsidies, not only at federal level but also at provincial level. So now for energy, for
agriculture.
unconditional cash transfers, for these conditional cash transfer schemes, etc. For all of them, we need to build the capacity of Benazir Income Support Program and other programs like this, so that lower and lower middle income earner, those can be insulated from the negative effects of some of the budgetary measures, and that is the only cushion that government have.
Talks of very quickly, since you have been dealing with the reform, there have been talks of series of reforms, governance, economic, tax reforms. But the question is, there have been millions of rupees which have been spent on creating these reforms papers, but none of these papers have been ever implemented. So, which is why we are facing this current state of miserable economic situation. So, why our reforms process have failed?
Because many of those reports and policies and plans, they don't get implemented. In order to implement a reform, we need at least four things. The first is institutional arrangement. Second is financial support and financial backing. Third is relevant policies and changes in laws and the rules of business. And fourth is capacity of implementers, whether they have the capacity to implement, whether they have the knowledge to implement, what sort of political economy hurdles they face in rolling out those reforms. So unless these reforms and these policy papers, they are not backed by the four prerequisites, most of these reforms, they would remain part of archives and of libraries, and they will not be implemented.
So, Doctor, finally, do you think that this upcoming budget will be public friendly? Although indirectly you have already responded, but public is, of course, eyeing on this budget that they are able to get some relief at a time when you have already mentioned that high prices of gas and electricity and other things. So, in these, keeping in view these all things, steadily class and the common man, will they get some sort of relief, even 1%?
Yeah, Mateen, many of the things that actually affect public are not part of budget. Petrol prices are revised every fortnight. Electricity prices are revised every 2 months. We have this fuel price adjustment. Gas prices are revised. I don't see the relevance between the federal budget and the relief that you are talking about. The food commodities, their prices, they fluctuate seasonally. The only relevant thing is whether there would be some sort of increase in salaries or minimum wages. Yes, there would be some increase in minimum wages. There would be some increase in salaries and pension, but then there would also be some sort of revision in taxation policy, which mean that perhaps some of the revision, positive revision in salaries, it may get reversed due to the revised taxation formula, and we still need to wait which taxation formula would be approved by Prime Minister. So, as far as public is concerned, I would say that this budget for them should be business as usual, and it would remain business as usual.
Last quick question, Dr. Saab. So we have seen inflation has come down. We have seen executive and prime minister saying that prices of everything should bring down. Petrol prices are coming down. Inflation has come down, but we don't see trickle down effects. So who is to ensure these things that the true economic evidence, the reduction in price hike, and these all should reach to the common man about which we have just talked. So how to implement this?
It's local government and administration. These are administrative measures. I reside in Islamabad, but I do my grocery from Rawalpindi because where I live, the rates they are double than the commodities that I can get from Rawalpindi. So if it is in federal federal government, and in the capital city, of course, you can replicate it everywhere. So these we have two index to show. One is the consumer price index, and other is wholesale price index. Wholesale price index mean where the price of commodity at wholesale level, and then the consumer price, and it is administrative measure that can actually reduce the difference between the two index. So the inflation, the real trickle down effect will only come when a deputy commissioner and assistant commissioner, the local government, that would be proactive. And if it is proactive, of course, people they would start feeling some positive impacts of this improved indicators.
We had with us Executive Director of Sustainable Development Policy Institute, Dr. Abdul Qayyum Suleri Saab, who spoke about the various aspects of upcoming budget and economic reforms and other related issues. Till our next program, goodbye and Allah Hafiz from V News English.